Okay, you guys, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of something that honestly hit a nerve for a lot of people because Nelly's daughter, Chanelle Haynes, just opened up emotionally about what it was like growing up after her parents split. And baby, this wasn't no surface level conversation. This was one of those moments where you could hear the child in her voice, even though she's grown now, and it immediately made people stop joking and start really listening.
Most part, we really was with my mom. My mom got married again eventually, so we was with her for a majority of the time. When we went with her, it was more of my mom's very active. She's very involved, and then we get with my dad and it's like, here goes some money, whatever y'all want to do.
The focus here isn't a scandal in the messy sense, but the emotional aftermath of celebrity breakups and how kids carry that quietly for years, even when the parents think they've done everything right. The receipts on this come straight from Chanelle herself during a sit-down conversation where she broke down in tears talking about how hard it was when her mom and Nelly went their separate ways. She explained that even though her mother later remarried and both parents worked overtime to make sure the kids felt supported, loved, and protected, there was still an unspoken shift that children can sense at a very young age. She said nobody ever sat them down and said, something is wrong, but kids don't need announcements. They feel energy, distance, and change. The blind item reads emotional truth without the messiness of gossip, because this was lived experience, not speculation. What really stood out is Chanelle saying that her parents never allowed the kids to feel like love was only coming from one side. She made it clear that both her mom and her dad made intentional efforts to show up, to pour into them, and to make sure the household never felt divided. But let's be real. Even when parents do their best, separation still creates cracks that kids learn to step over instead of heal from. That's not a failure, that's just reality. And hearing her articulate that as an adult really makes you wonder how many celebrity kids smile through things we never see. Chanelle also talked about the difference in dynamics when she was with her dad, and this is where social media started reacting heavy. She said, when you're with Nelly, it's all love, all generosity, all what do you need, and yes, all money. Shopping trips, gifts, experiences, dad energy on 100. She admitted that all the kids love being around their dad because he's the fun parent, the provider, the one who turns moments into memories you can post about. And that's not shade, that's honesty. That's not no light work because being the fun parent comes with expectations and pressure too. Now, here's where it gets layered. Chanelle didn't say this to drag her mom or uplift one parent over the other. She said it to explain how kids naturally gravitate toward what feels light when they're already carrying emotional weight. When life feels heavy, you run toward joy, not structure. And if your dad is the one creating those carefree moments, kids are going to associate him with happiness, even if both parents are doing their part behind the scenes. If this is true, it's very concerning how often people online reduce parenting to money and gifts instead of emotional labor. What I appreciated is that Chanelle made sure to say her parents always tried to balance things so the kids didn't feel like they had to choose sides. She said there was never a moment where love felt withheld, weaponized, or conditional. That says a lot about Nelly and her mom's maturity, because we've seen too many celebrity breakups where kids are used as leverage or emotional shields. This wasn't that. This was two adults doing their best while their children quietly adjusted in ways nobody noticed at the time. It really makes you wonder how many kids of divorced parents, famous or not, grow up feeling okay but not whole, loved but still confused, protected but still grieving the family unit they once knew. Chanelle saying they felt it young but couldn't name it until adulthood is something a lot of people connected to in the comments. That's why this story went viral, not because of drama, but because of recognition. People saw themselves in her words. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, because I want to hear this part. Do you think kids truly bounce back from their parents splitting if love stays present on both sides? Or do you think there's always a piece that stays tender no matter how well the adults handle it? And do you think being the fun parent unintentionally creates imbalance, even when it's done with love? As Chanelle kept talking, you could hear how her perspective shifted as she got older, because she started realizing that the all love, all money, all shopping dynamic wasn't just about fun, it was also her dad's way of showing up the best way he knew at that stage of his life. She explained that when you're young, you don't always understand emotional presence versus physical presence. You just know who makes you feel good in the moment. And that doesn't mean the other parent isn't doing the work, it just means kids interpret love through what they can immediately see and touch. That realization didn't come overnight for her. It came with age, reflection, and maturity. She also admitted that as a child, she didn't fully grasp how hard it must have been for her mother to maintain balance, structure, and discipline while still trying to protect her kids from feeling the weight of a broken relationship. Let's be real, the parent who has to be consistent, firm, and emotionally grounding rarely gets the credit because that role isn't flashy. Chanelle saying this now shows growth because it takes time to understand that stability is just as loving as gifts, even if it doesn't feel as exciting when you're young. What really stood out in this part of her story is how she described the unspoken loyalty kids sometimes feel. She said there were moments when she felt guilty enjoying the fun side so much, even though no one ever made her feel that way directly. That internal conflict is something a lot of people relate to but don't talk about. It really makes you wonder how many kids quietly carry emotional responsibility that was never meant for them, simply because they're trying to love both parents equally. She also touched on how the public perception of Nelly as this generous, fun-loving dad shaped how people treated him versus her mom. Chanelle said everyone loves Dad because he's the one people see spending, smiling, and creating big moments. But behind closed doors, her mom was the one making sure school was handled, emotions were checked in on, and life kept moving forward smoothly. That's not no light work, and it's something society rarely celebrates, especially when celebrity fathers are involved. At one point, Chanelle addressed online speculation head-on, saying that people sometimes assume money fixes everything, or that kids automatically choose sides based on who provides more financially. She made it clear that wasn't the case for her family. She said love came from all directions, even if it looked different depending on where she was at the time. Some people online have allegedly twisted her words into something messy, but her message was actually about complexity, not conflict. What I appreciated most is that Chanelle made sure to say her parents always tried to balance things so the kids didn't feel like they had to choose sides. She said there was never a moment where love felt withheld, weaponized, or conditional. That says a lot about Nelly and her mom's maturity, because we've seen too many celebrity breakups where kids are used as leverage or emotional shields. This wasn't that. This was two adults doing their best while their children quietly adjusted in ways nobody noticed at the time.